and useless, and nobody is talking. Everybody is quiet. Betting companies are advertising and advertising and advertising, killing you. Every influencer there is telling you to join one expert. There's a new pandemic, and this one doesn't have symptoms. It's just there. The results and the damage that it's causing is just what we are seeing all over the place, but it doesn't have symptoms. And it's an addiction. It's the addiction to gambling. Now, bear with me. Gambling is a very serious addiction, and this episode is for people who have problem with gambling or who know people who have problem with gambling. If you even gamble at all, self, you should just sit out. In fact, anybody at all, you should watch this, because coming from somebody who has dealt with gambling addiction, I think I have value that I'm going to provide in this video. One of the first questions people always ask is that you're losing money. Why do you keep doing it? They ask gambling addicts. I'm going to answer that question in this episode. The addiction to gambling is not a physical problem. It's a mental problem. And I found that if you are addicted to gambling, it's not because you like the act. It's a dopamine imbalance in your brain that causes you to compulsively gamble away money even when you're losing. Take for example, your brain releases this certain amount of dopamine when you're doing. Dopamine is like the feel good hormone that you get when you do things that you enjoy. If you're watching a movie, if you're eating, if you're playing, different levels of dopamine come into your brain when you're doing those fun activities. If you're gambling, it's also an exciting activity, and dopamine is released into your brain in certain amounts. So here's how it works. If you have a problem or you are susceptible to this kind of addiction or to the type of dopamine imbalance, here's what's going to happen that is going to lead you to gambling addiction. You are going to want to have that feeling, that hit over and over again. And you gamble away more money because the more money you put at risk, the more exciting it is. There was a study that they did where they said they scanned the brain of gambling addicts when they are gambling and the brain of like normal people when they are gambling. There's a part of the brain that lights up during different stages of the gambling. When you're placing the bets, when the game is playing, when the results come out, your brain gives different reactions. And with the normal person, when the brain is in its normal state, right? And then, sorry, I'm not a neurosurgeon or a medical doctor, so I'm just trying to explain this in layman's terms. So there's a part of the brain that every part of the brain stays dormant at the same level. No one is lighting up when he's placing the bets. This is the normal brain, the normal guy. And then while the games are playing, there is like anticipation, but the brain is not really lighting up. When the result comes out, if he wins, in the normal person's brain, there's a part of the brain that lights up. I don't know if it's the amygdala or something, but it lights up to show that, okay, this is the pattern. You get when the person wins, he's happy, he gets that dopamine hit. And then in the brain of the addict, when he places the bet, his brain is still normal, like the first person. When the games are playing, there is no winning, there's no losing. Just at the moment when it is playing, he's getting lights all over the place. His brain is sparking. And when the result comes out, whether he wins or loses, it's still sparking the same. So it's not about the money. You're not gambling because you want to make more money if you're an addict. No, you're gambling because there's a problem somewhere, there's an imbalance, and you have to meter it. A lot of times you tell yourself you will not gamble. No, this is anything. Within yourself, maybe you've hurt your family, or you've seen serious shaggy or embarrassment as a result of your gambling, and you've decided, I don't want to do this anymore, and you still go back to it. It's not really something about your willpower or your heart. It's a mental problem that you have to slowly solve and cure by yourself. If you don't even know if you are a problem gambler or if your gambling has reached where there is a wahala, if you use money you're supposed to do something else with to gamble, there's a problem. If you say that this is your limit, and after you exhaust that limit, you go and bring money again to continue gambling, there's a problem. If your friends and family have advised you to stop gambling, even the ones you gamble with, there's a problem. If you find yourself thinking about gambling even when you're not gambling, like if you're at work or at school or you're doing something important, you find yourself thinking about the next time you're going to gamble, you're probably addicted. And there's a whole lot of signs. If I remember anyone else, I will still tell you. And you have to look out for these signs in your family members as well, because gambling addiction doesn't have any symptoms. any physical symptoms that your loved ones can see from the outside. But I'm going to tell you the ones I know because it does have symptoms. It's just that you have to be very careful and smart to be able to spot it in somebody else. If you have any of those signs, you are probably addicted to gambling. And there's some people whose issues are even beyond themselves now, like their family, their workplace. They know people have lost jobs. You will hear stories of people who, I've heard this thing a lot, and maybe it's because of the way my internet started going as I was researching for this episode. But I just started. I saw a lot of stories of people. A woman, he said he man gambled his salary away, all of it, gambled hers, like stole her money, their savings that they kept for their children's school fees. He gambled that away as well. And you can say, why doesn't he just stop? But I think I've answered that first question of why it doesn't really stop. It's because you're getting a high. Let me try and explain this thing from between me and somebody who would understand. Let's see if I make sense. This is how I think gambling addiction starts. And if they say somebody's addicted to gambling, they're not addicted to placing money on. This is all of them is gambling. All of them are bad. There's always a gateway drug to any addiction. There's always a gateway. But sports betting, for example, Arsenal is playing with Chelsea tomorrow. That match is tomorrow. Real human beings are going to play it, and you put money on it. That is not what makes people useless with gambling addiction. That's not the way gambling ruins people. People don't really get addicted to that. That's just the gateway into it. People don't get addicted to sports betting, and I'll tell you why. It's because when you are addicted to gambling, you've reached a certain place in terms of the highness you get from gambling. It's just like any other drug. It's highness that it gives. That is why it's just that it costs money to do. It's just that you're using money directly to buy the highness directly. People who are addicted to gambling are addicted to virtual gaming. Virtual gaming, yeah. Dog race, virtual football. You see them in the bet shops now, standing, playing virtual. That is virtual. Like, there's no human being. It's just auto-generated computer. After every 3 or 5 minutes, they play a new game. So let me explain. If you do sports betting and you put your 10,000 naira on top Arsenal to win Chelsea, right? You get your dopamine hit when the match is ongoing. So over the period of 90 minutes, your dopamine, your highness, yeah, is spread over that period. As you're watching that match in anticipation, as you're watching it, that's how it's spread, but it's diluted over 90 minutes. And then when your brain crosses where you are betting for to win money over where you are betting for the pleasure of betting, once your brain crosses over, that 90 minutes game span will not be enticing to you anymore because it's not about the money anymore. It's about the dopamine hit. So when I've said dopamine hit too much, but when they tell you, oh, but there's another simulated football one that can take, like, you will have to wait like 5 minutes and the match will start, and they will only play that match for like 1 minute. So all that dopamine that was spread across 90 minutes before, you can get it all in a 60-second window, all of it, and that is where you enter because you've crossed. It's for the highness you are going for now, not the money. So when you have money, you just pay to get that new highness. 1 minute, it will shock you. But it doesn't have physical symptoms. It's just a brain feel-good hormone, and that's it. There's no dragging of the eye or drowsy movement or staggering or anything like that. But here are the signs or the symptoms of gambling that you can look for in your partner or in your child or your friend or anybody. If they always need money, because the addiction takes money directly. If they always need money, especially when the person is supposed to be making more money than, how do I say it? The person is supposed to have this amount of money based on what they are making, but they keep needing more and more money. Like, for example, somebody has a job that pays him 2 million naira per month, but occasionally from time to time he owes you 10,000, 3,000, 4,000, 15K. He will just borrows from you, often. He can pay you today now. He can pay you back your money today, and next tomorrow he needs money again. That same amount or lower. Just, and if they owe a lot of people. So sometimes it's not good to pry and check people's credit history and stuff. But put your ears on the ground. If you know one person that somebody has said he's notorious, he's owing me, or he has borrowed from me, or he borrowed from me, so time, and then there are plenty of people, the same borrowing issue about one person that probably doesn't have problems in his life that he needs to borrow for. You should start checking that person. If the person gambles at all, If you know anybody in your life now that actually plays bets, check. There's a high chance. There's a high chance that they are addicted. Several, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this before recording, but I didn't get the chance to. I didn't even remember. But I'm going to Google how many Nigerians are addicted to gambling statistically. Many Nigerians are addicted to gambling. Despite most forms of gambling being illegal in Nigeria, substantial amounts are spent on a daily basis. The rate of problem gambling is estimated to be 1 to 8%, with 10 to 50% as risk problem related to gambling. What percentage of Nigerians are gamblers? So 36% of Nigerians are gamblers. 36% of Nigerians are gamblers. So over 70 million Nigerians, over 80 million Nigerians are gamblers. And then inside that number, I don't know how many percent of gamblers are addicts, but addicts are not admitted. But I can guarantee you, out of every 5 people, out of every 4 people that gamble, one is addicted. So that's 25%. 25% of 80 million is 20 million, right? 20 million people estimatedly are addicted to gambling in Nigeria. And if that's true, and there is no awareness against gambling addiction, there is no body fighting back against gambling being advertised and thrown in our faces like that, and there are 20 million people suffering from it, then there's a big problem that we have to fix. Another symptom that you can get is if they seem detached from like important things in their life. Somebody's supposed to go to work, but he doesn't come early. It's not that he's come early before, doesn't come early anymore. This man, the honest truth is this thing doesn't have symptoms like that. So really, you have to watch, you have to snoop around, you have to question, you understand? See how they behave around the topic of gambling, see how they behave when you send them this video, see how they react to different things, see how many times they gamble on normal sports like the one I was describing with Arsenal and Chelsea. If they're always playing that one, then there's probably a sign that they're addicted, because those people should gamble once in a while, like put money on the game. If it comes, it doesn't come. And one reason not to gamble. So if they're always playing bet every weekend, every weekday, there's a problem there also. This is one of the signs I think I'll give. One thing with gambling, if you're addicted to gambling, please listen. You have to, the road back from it. I can tell you categorically, as somebody who has been addicted and has beaten the addiction, there is a roadmap back. You can't just say, today I will not gamble again. Telling it, if it's not you, somebody that close to you, you've gambled and you've told yourself, I will not do this again. This is bad for me, and you've still gone back. So this to tell you that you cannot just stand up and say you will not do it again and not do it again. There's a process. There are tips you will need, and I'll be willing to provide those tips. However, in fact, here's how we can do it. The link to my WhatsApp channel is in the description. I'm going to put out tips there, and also communicate other ways. There's the email there. You can send me a DM, or on Instagram. If you want to be anonymous, then you should probably use the email. And whatever issues you may have, whatever questions, for free, I would answer all those questions, and I would give my best advice. But here is the road. If I'm going to minimize, I'm going to summarize the road back from a gambling addiction. The first things that you're going to do is to humble yourself. And when I say humble yourself, you really need to understand that it's either you take a few moments of a little bit of shame and humility in your life just to beat this addiction, or you live the rest of your life in this constant shame, because it's inevitable. The reason I say you should humble yourself is that this addiction you found yourself in is the worst one that there is. And I'm not just saying this because it's bad and I've experienced it. It's the worst one that there is statistically. Here are the stats. 25% of gambling addicts eventually kill themselves, or at least suicidal. To be honest, I can't remember exactly how they said it in that documentary. Was it an article? Yeah, I read it. But 25% of them would say are suicidal. That is the addiction with the highest suicide rate on earth. That's the addiction with the highest suicide rate. And guess what? It has an 10 to 15% recovery rate or is it 10 to 25% recovery rate? It is the lowest, it is the addiction with the lowest recovery rate and the highest mortality rate. That is what you found yourself in now. So when I say humble yourself, you need to understand that you have to go lower, you have to eat grass for you to get out of this problem. So I hope you understand the gravity of the situation you're in. Your life is not normal. That's the thing. And if some people try to manage it, some people try to manage it. I have a friend that works in a bank. I don't know how far, his own is, but I'm not going to say that part. I'm going to cut that part out actually. But the thing is, you have to understand that your life is not normal anymore. You have a problem that messes with the fundamental thing that we used to live. You understand? Money is the most important thing on earth. It's what you need to survive from a daily basis. And you have a problem that makes that thing vanish from your hand like this without any hope. That's the problem you have. So you're not a normal human being anymore. You are somebody that needs real rehabilitation. I need to understand that. Now, the first thing you need to do is to dissociate yourself from all forms of gambling. And by this, I mean self-exclude. These days, gambling is mostly online. So, people won't even know. That's why it's easy to hide. Someone will be addicted to gambling. Nobody, even his wife, would know because it's in his phone, you get. But in those apps with BetKing, with SportyBet, everybody has self-exclude. If most of your gambling is done physically, like in shops, then you can also self-exclude because nobody wants a problem gambler. Really, even the houses. I mean, the betting companies themselves, we can argue that they want you to be addicted to gambling. But the people who own the shops really don't want addicted gamblers. The people who own the bet shops, they don't want addicted gamblers there, because you come, you play your wager, you owe them money, you owe their staff money, you cost them shortages and stuff like that. They don't want you to. So when you have, that's why I said, be humble. You will go there and you will tell them that you have a problem with gambling and they should stop betting for you. If you need help with this as well, like physically, DM me and I will see what I can do about that to physically stop you from gambling. Tell them to stop playing bet for you. Tell the bosses to tell of them. You give them your pictures too, whatever. So that's one thing you have to do. Secondly, stay away from money that will tempt you. Oftentimes, you will think that you're okay. You don't feel like gambling. You don't have the urge, and it's because you don't have money. But the moment money enters your hand, and then maybe you solve one or two problems, you start feeling like a responsible person once again. You solve a few problems, and then you now see that you have free money. You now think, okay, it's just let me indulge in my demons a little bit. It won't hurt, and that's how the rest of that money will wipe out, and any other money you have coming in will just go. So stay away from money that will tempt you, and you have to swallow your pride again and find someone that is going to help you with your finances. So this is where your family or friends come in. Anyone that really loves you, that is good with money, that can help you and will not eat your money too. Before you start jumping from one problem to another. But if you have that problem, find somebody around you that can keep your money for you. So when you're earning, if once money enters your account, everything you send everything to them. And I wanted to say depending on your gravity of your problem, but no, there's no gravity of your problem is your problem. So the moment you get anything, you send it back to them. Now, if you need money for anything, they will send it to you. That's how it will work. And these days, internet banking is swift. It's strong. I would have recommended one company, but they didn't pay me for ads. But honestly, these days it's Kuda, there's OPay. They are fast. So if you both have similar accounts, once your money enters, or you can even tell whoever is paying you to pay them instead. You can direct your money straight into their account. So you ask them, have they paid? Okay, I need money for this, and they'll do it for you. And even the things that they can pay for you instead of having the money pass through your hand, let them pay it for you. Like big things, like maybe school fees, for your children or for yourself. Like market money, those kind of things. So you avoid having money in bulk. That way you take care of your problems. You still look responsible. You still feel responsible because you're taking care of business. Just that you are not fit to handle your own money because you have a problem with it. And that's something you have to own up to as well. So swallow your pride. And then secondly, stay away from people that encourage gambling. And sometimes this can be difficult because this may be your family and your friends or your co-workers, or people that you cannot really stay away from. And you have to swallow your pride once again and tell them, look, you people cannot be discussing this thing around me. Or if they try to ask you about your own bets, for example, everybody places bets during the weekends now, and then they want to ask you about you. You tell them they should stop asking you those kind. You don't want to. You're not doing that thing anymore. Make it vocal that you don't do it. Even if it's yesterday you stopped, today you don't gamble anymore. You understand? Even if it's 10 minutes ago, you no longer gamble, you're not a gambler. And that's what you do. Then avoid thinking about gambling when you're not gambling, like when you're doing other things and the thought of that big ordeal you have eaten comes to your head. Shake it off, throw it away. You can throw it away, it's easy, just focus on something else. Now, focusing on something else, there's a big void that is left in your life when you quit gambling. And they might tell you that it's difficult to deal with, but it's not that difficult to deal with, honestly. There's other things you can do. And it is to watch videos that teach you about gambling. That also worked for me. Watch videos that teach you about exactly how gambling works, exactly how these companies work, exactly how those computers and those aviator and those games you're playing, how they work. Let me tell you how they work, say from the research that I made. There is with aviator over a 24-hour span, there is a 0.98 percentage return, which means if you play aviator and you stake 100,000 on everything they play, on everything that just seeing how much you win and lose together, at the end of the day you would have lost 0.3%. So if you started with 100k and you're winning, losing, winning, losing, winning, losing, at the end of the day you would have given them 3k. That is it. You understand? So that is the best you can do. That is the best you can financially, from a financial standpoint, in gambling like that. That's the best you can do. You're not going to win money, because if you have a problem with gambling and you bet, and no matter how much you win, you will continue betting until it is finished. It is when, with gambling addict, it is when you really physically can no longer gamble that you leave the house. Yeah, people who have gambled their clothes away, they came back naked. So it gets really tough. But if you're here, then your God has blessed you. Another thing you can do also is to stay around people that are recovering as well, or stay around people that are willing to help you, who are not ashamed to ask you how far, what are you doing on your phone when they see you pressing it. Well, let me give you one tip again. If you have multiple betting accounts, if you have two or more, there's a high chance you're a problem gambler, because you're looking for. Sometimes you can open an account here because you're looking for bonus, but after you've opened like two accounts, you would know that those bonuses are not really what they say they are. They will tell you 300% sign up bonus. The conditions for those bonuses, they will tell you, and this is how most of them work. Even the ones that gives you 1000%, this is what they will tell you. Some ridiculous criteria. They'll say you can only bet on two odds, and which, if you're not a gambler, two odds is like risky games. You can only bet on 6 combined two odds before, that's the only way you can bet this money, on 6 combined. So you have to play 6 risky games before you can use their bonus. And you will lose all those things and lose it, and the bonus will finish, and your own personal money will finish. But the thing is, they've taken your money. Their bonus was never real. You're never going to win anything with it. But they've taken your money now. And all this logical talk, it doesn't really work for gamblers. But I hope you understand that if you watch and you listen to stuff like this, you have a better understanding about it when you're sober, and it will be difficult for you to go back into it with the more knowledge you gain about gambling and how it really works. So the house is there. It's not for your friend. Bet Niger has not how I say it, helped. It has changed some things, but it's just like energy. Abi, it matter, they say. You cannot be destroyed. You cannot be changed from one form to another. So the physical violence that we used to experience before with the youth who were jobless, in terms of kidnapping and armed robbery, that has reduced now because of maybe gambling and internet fraud, is still problems. It's still problems that are being recycled into another form. Because who is going to deal with the millions of addicted young Nigerians, of gambling addicted young Nigerians? Who is going to deal with that problem? Because it's a problem. Oh, kidnapping is not so much of an issue. Armed robbery is not so much of an issue anymore. But then we have people growing up with inability to manage money. People who cannot do anything useful with money for themselves or their family are just growing useless and useless. And nobody is talking. Everybody is quiet. Betting companies are advertising and advertising and advertising, killing you. Every influencer there is telling you to join one expert. Nah. Yeah. And as for the outfit today, I was just looking for an excuse to wear this clothes, to be honest, and I found one. Yeah, I hope you like it. Um, so there's, like I said, if you've got any questions or any help with your issues with gambling, my DMs are open on all social media platforms. It's Good Living Pod at Good Living Pod on Twitter or X. My WhatsApp channel is in the description where you can get these updates and tips that I'm going to be dropping as I'm thinking about them. Because there's not too many followers there, so the influx I see, I'm going to understand where the majority is coming from. And if you want to send anonymous messages, also email and Instagram also available there. So thank you very much for watching the Good Living Podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. See you next time. Bye.